Hi there, I'm Ashley Kate Andy. Welcome back. Today I am going to be sharing a personal story about how meditation saved me multiple times and why I am so passionate about teaching and sharing the ancient tradition and art of meditation and mindfulness. So let's begin. Though I had heard of meditation, I was aware cognitively of what it was. I wasn't really fully aware of what meditation was until I had the delight of stumbling into a little yoga studio back when I lived in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, called the Dharma Room. Now it's no longer there. It was there for a couple years, but it was there when I needed it. And specifically, there was a teacher that I really enjoyed named Jill, who, unlike yoga classes that I had experienced before that were more focused on for physical fitness, she really embraced the ancient teachings of yoga and that full balance of body, mind, and spirit in her classes. And one of the things she did was she dedicated at least 10 to 15 minutes at the end of her class of stillness and guided meditation. And this was new to me. Like I said, I was very active. I enjoyed fitness classes or just being in motion, but I hadn't really gone to a class like this where I was invited and kind of forced to be still and sit with myself. She gently guided the meditation to begin with, maybe gave some gentle prompts, but then left space for just silence or maybe some gentle meditation music in the back. But during this time, initially it felt terrible because I wanted to run. I wasn't sure what to do with the silence. So sitting there in that stillness, I was so uncomfortable and I wanted to move out of it. And I understood later why this was. And that is because when I sat there in the stillness, it left time for me to connect with my intuition. And my intuition was something that I had learned, unfortunately, to quiet and to keep away from myself because that was not something that was very supported in my path and where I was at the time. At the time, I was in an abusive relationship. And though I never had any bruises within this abuse, there was a lot of psychological manipulation and other forms of torment that I didn't really understand. I knew that I felt terrible. I knew that I was anxious. That's why I was there at the yoga class. I was trying to do something that was good for myself. I knew that some of my habits I'd gotten into weren't really healthy. I was coping as a young 20-something might do on the weekends, and I was really unhappy. And while I had friends, I felt alone inside. And that loneliness came from not being connected with my own true self. And so I returned back to another class despite the discomfort of the first one of being forced to sit with my feelings. Whew. And I found myself obviously just leaving the class despite that discomfort of the first time. I still felt good. I still felt really, really good. And I left feeling more balanced than I'd ever felt, more capable of taking on, the week to come. And as I returned to classes, as I was able to, that continued to grow and expand because I was able to reconnect with myself, with this young woman that I had lost connection with. And as hard as it was to come to terms with, I knew in my heart that I needed to leave that relationship. I knew it wasn't going to be easy. There was, like I said, a lot of manipulation there. I had already been forced to detach from relationships that may have been supportive to me. I felt very emotionally isolated, even though I was surrounded by people and people that cared about me. I was very emotionally isolated, and I couldn't still make sense of my experience because it took a long time after of leaving the relationship to even recognize that that was abusive. Because, well, that wasn't what abuse looked like on paper, right? A lot of coercion and manipulation. So it was sitting in a class and holding space for my own inner voice to be heard that I made that decision. And I left that class. I remember walking to my car and just bawling. And I, again, wasn't really sure of I didn't understand all that was coming to the surface, but I knew what I needed to do. And so I did. And gosh, I get emotional just thinking about it, but I'm so grateful for that experience of reconnecting to myself in that way, because I highly doubt that I would be alive today had that continued. And if I was physically, my spirit would have been gone, done. So that is one of the most profound reasons that I am honored to share this gift of meditation. Now I went through, my own journey of life. It's never linear, always ups and downs. And so within these ups and downs, I kind of lost track of this newfound habit that I was fostering, but I also did come away with some skills of connecting to myself that was helpful. So while I might not have been doing meditation in a traditional sense that like we might imagine, I was still moving more mindfully forward in my life, and the spiral upward began. So I returned to meditation again as I transitioned into motherhood. This transition into motherhood was hard. Our marriage was challenging and rocky. We were still learning how to be together as adults and manage our sense of self and our relationship. And we were going through some healing personally, of course, from our own past wounds. But then my daughter came into the world in a very challenging way as well. So our daughter was born via emergency C-section after a very long and painful labor experience. And that again brought me into this sense of disconnection from self, and especially the healing afterward. Looking back now, understanding that, hey, that was postpartum depression. But at the time, I didn't know I was in it. I had this little inkling of a skill that allowed me to reconnect to who I am and was at the core of my being was so important. This practice circled back around again later on in parenthood, a couple years later, when the world shut down. In 2020, I had a 2 and 3-year-old, and she was so beautifully active and curious and always on the go and like full force until she hit her wall and was in bed. So I really struggled with not being able to take her to the library, the youth museum, all the places, and do the things that allowed us to connect with other people face to face. It felt very isolating. And once again, I felt like my sense of self start to slip. But the cool thing about this time around is I had this beautiful little being who wanted to mimic and learn what I was doing. So it wasn't just about me, but I also then was teaching her this gift of meditation and breath work and mindfulness. And she especially loved the physical movement of yoga, of course, making me her own personal jungle gym. But there's a beautiful video of this little girl and myself sitting across from each other, breathing together. Feel our belly, see if it goes out. Ready? Breathe deep in. Should breathe like a lion. And I will forever cherish these moments because that was another opportunity for us to connect not only to ourselves, but with each other in a way that was very mindful and present. So again, meditation really saved me. And when I say saved me, I don't necessarily mean just in a physical sense, like the first occurrence that I mentioned, but saved my spirit by reconnecting, reigniting that sense of integration of body, mind, and spirit. Because so often what happens in this crazy busy world is that there's so much noise. Our society has created so many distractions to keep us separate from this connection to source, to higher self. And when I say source, universe, God, goddess, life force, whatever resonates most with you. The name terminology does not matter. We're talking about the energy of life and love and healing that lives within us and also active all around us, right? So through meditation, I was able to re-nurture my spirit, which was just beginning to grow again when, something challenging happened. And please don't think that in order to begin meditation, you have to be recovering from or healing through some dramatic, traumatic experience, because that's not the case at all. It just happened to be that I was so at the end of my rope at those times that is what brought me back to it. It was either that or lose myself entirely. So I am continuing to be so incredibly grateful for not only this teacher I mentioned earlier, but also for the people along the way who have nourished my soul in ways that so often are overlooked within how we live today. We have the ability to connect not only with ourselves, but with one another and with all living things in such profound ways if only we embrace it. And that is the only way that healing, true healing, can occur. We can run from it. We can go to all the talk therapy appointments we want. But if we don't do that deeper work of learning how to quiet the mind and soften the body in order to connect with our spirit, our soul, the rest just doesn't matter. And I'm especially grateful to now be on this side of being a teacher of the practice. I have had many incredible teachers and mentors throughout my journey, and the honor of being yours is one that I don't take lightly. And if you're local here in the Cedar Valley of Iowa, you can find me through the spring, summer, and early fall at the Cedar Valley Arboretum and Botanic Gardens, which are incredibly beautiful. I could not ask for a more serene location for us to connect. I guide somatic yoga and meditation there. You can find more about that class on my website, ashleykandy.com. If you're not local, or you are and you just desire to learn more and you recognize that this is something that could be beneficial in your life, I have just created a meditation and mindfulness mini course for moms. Now, it's not limited to just mothers, but I specifically, of course, love nurturing the peace of moms, because this is something that I really needed. And I know that I was not and am not alone in that within motherhood. So this course guides you in the basics of meditation, but also teaches you some simple techniques to integrate it into your life, because I know that you are constantly interrupted. I know that you are always busy and always have a mental load that is miles long. So these simple techniques can allow you to feel less overwhelmed, less anxious, less on edge, develop more patience, more presence, more peacefulness within your home, and most importantly within yourself. So you can find this new mini course in the link down below the video, and also you can just visit ashleykandy.com. If you're not quite ready for this course, which by the way I made to be affordable and accessible to everyone, if you are not, I also have some freebies available that can help to support and nurture your peace at ashleykandy.com. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel to be notified of videos to come, but also revisit ones that I've shared in the past, because there are some beautiful guided meditations that if you feel like you struggle to just meditate and you could use some support and guidance, or listening to something peaceful or a prompt that supports your healing, I got you, friend. And I am incredibly grateful for the honor of doing so. I am still blown away that, what I once envisioned while in meditation has come into fruition so many times, including women's retreats that I have guided, and most recently taking the stage to share poetry from my very own poetry book and a song to inspire and uplift. It's truly incredible, and the opportunities are endless for those who choose to foster peace and their own connection to their higher. And I am so excited to hear about where this practice leads you. Again, I'm Ashley K. Andy. Thank you for joining me for this video. And on this journey, I am honored, and I look forward to seeing you next time.